Down the street from the place.
Good morning and welcome to the regular Board of County Commissioners meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 8th, and we do begin each of our meetings with an invocation. This morning, let's see, is Zachary Langston here this morning? Don't see him, just make sure. Okay, I think we will have Commissioner Williams pray for us this morning, so please do stand and join us if you'd like.
Our Father in heaven, we are so thankful for this day and for our many blessings. We are thankful for the safety that we experienced in our community over the 4th of July. Our prayers today are with those in Texas who have been affected by the devastating flooding, especially the families who have lost their young children. And we ask Thee to please comfort them and bring them strength and continue to help them in the search and rescue effort. We're thankful for our country, for the freedoms we enjoy. And this we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
And I will ask our treasurer if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3.
Item number 3 is staff emergency items, and I'm unaware of any staff emergency items today.
Item 4.
Item number 4 is changes, postponements, and notice of the next meeting. I'm unaware of any changes or postponements to today's agenda, and the next meeting will be Tuesday, July 22nd at 9:00 a.m.
Okay, and before we move on to item 5, we do have one commissioner who's going to be a bit late this morning, so if I could get a motion to excuse Commissioner Nelson until she comes in.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Weissong,
Aye.
Commissioner Applegate,
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. That passes 4-0. She is excused until she arrives. Item 5.
Item number 5 is the consent calendar, including items 5A through 5N5.
Okay, is there anyone here who would like to speak on an item on the consent calendar? Seeing none, and I see none online, I will bring it up here for motion.
I move approval of the consent calendar, items 5A through 5N5, but with an amendment to item 5C, adding the name Courtney Salt as the citizen-at-large member appointed to the Board of Health for El Paso County.
Okay, thank you. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, that has been moved and seconded. I will call the roll. Commissioner Weissong,
Aye.
Commissioner Applegate,
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. That passes 4-0. Item 6.
Item number 6 is comments by elected officials and commissioner liaison reports. 6A, prepayment budget payment program, Chuck Browerman, treasurer.
Good morning, sir.
Williams, if I may, Good morning, Madam Chair, County Commissioners. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present this morning. I don't get to present too much as treasurer. I don't have the excitement that a county clerk or a sheriff's office or DA talking about the great things that they do today. But I have a program that we are excited about introducing today that I think will give aid to our citizens who are in situations where they need to kind of budget their property taxes. So with that, I will get started. All right. So currently, property tax owners have two options which they can pay their property tax under state statute. One is a one payment system, or what we call a full payment by April 30th of each year, or they can afford two payments, which we call half payments on February 28th or 15th. However, we have property owners that mention the struggles of budgeting 1 or 2 large property tax payments a year. And they mentioned that they would find it easier to budget if we could come up with a way of doing it in smaller installments. However, before I get into what we're going to present, I do want to inform citizens, because I know this will go out on Facebook. People do have a couple other options to lower their property tax payments. The senior homestead exemption, which is for citizens that are over 65 and have been in their home for 10 years or more, and disabled veteran exemptions. And both of those programs are operated through the county assessor's office. But I just received news that the governor is likely to be calling, or did call, a special session to address a budget shortfall, and legislative liaisons to the Treasurers Association, Clerks Association, and Assessor Association says these programs may be at jeopardy. I hope not, because I think citizens have come to depend on those. It would be devastating for citizens if they are not funded, but that could be the reality of the situation that we're in. Another program is a property tax deferral program, which is a lien. It allows people who are, what I would say, house rich, but maybe more constrained in their monthly finances, that they can place a lien on their property. Their property taxes are paid, so they can continue to live in their house, and then they can, at a time when maybe they're in a better position, pay that lien back, or maybe settle that in their estate, should they choose to do that. So that's another option. However, we are introducing another payment option. And this is in response to residential and commercial property owners having concerns about the burden of paying property taxes. In the recent past, we've had proposed legislation that would change the way we would do property tax collection. In 2024, they were proposing a 12-month monthly payment plan, and this is different than what we're proposing. Their plan would, after tax notices went out in January, people would have January through December to pay, and that would change the time at which districts would receive their money. But it also would cause a total rewrite of Title 38. Everything that the Treasurer's Office, a total rewrite. It calls into questions, when is someone delinquent on paying their taxes? When would a tax lien sale occur to fully fund those districts? So it creates a lot of problems. So that was chosen by the legislature not to go that route in 2024. And then earlier this year, there was House Bill 1199, which would have required 4 payments. After we send out tax notices, we'd have a payment in February, April, July, and September. It would have caused software expenses to the county, would have caused other staffing issues and stuff like that, to where it would be an unfunded mandate, as many things that we see come out of the legislature from time to time, of between $400,000 and $600,000. So that's something that the county doesn't have money to do. But we're able to introduce something that's similar to that and not cause the software changes and the increase in staffing at no cost to us, but a service to our citizens. So we in the Treasurer's Office is very happy and pleased to announce a pioneering measure, first in the country to be able to do this. We're offering a way for residential and business property owners to prepay their property tax in smaller amounts over a longer period of time. It's a full-service, secure, cloud-based portal designed to enable residential and business property owners to split their property tax payments into easy-to-manage payments. Property tax owners can make payment through a service called escrow tax, and they can pay it by e-check, ACH. They can do it through credit card or various other digital wallet applications. Kind of think of it as like utilities company has level billing or budget billing. It allows them to set their amount that they'll pay each month, and then they'll get notices every month about that, and then send that payment to the service provider. Benefits of using escrow tax: homeowners and taxpayers who want to simplify their household budget by making payments in equal monthly amounts. It de-stresses the cash flow. Senior citizens who may be on fixed incomes and find it difficult to pay large And I'm in the right place. Oops, I'm one page behind on here for you. Sorry. Citizens who may be on fixed income and find it difficult to pay large tax bills twice a year. Business owners who want to budget their business and commercial taxes. Basically, for any property owner who prefers consistent, predictable monthly payments. It's easy to enroll and use. It's secure and compliant. Service provider has enlisted the service of Holland Knight to ensure full compliancy with the state of Colorado. And then there's accurate and auto balancing features that when changes are made, that people are notified of those changes. Key considerations for property owners. It's not for everybody, but what property owners should consider is how will reoccurring prepayments or budget billing impact your cash flow, your saving goal, or your financial well-being. You know, are you comfortable with the potential adjustment to true up? And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a moment. And they can, by evaluating their budget billing, does it fit into their broader financial picture so that they can make an informed decision about which way works best. They can still use the one large payment in April or the two half payments, but the property owner is in charge at all times. Business to property owners, peace of mind reduces big bills and de-stresses cash flow concerns. Like I said, it was easy to enroll and use. It's transparent, and they get communications each month, updates from escrow taxes about their status of their payments. Like I said, secure and compliant, and it has accurate and auto balancing features for their consumption. Benefits to our office: provide additional options to taxpayers, zero cost to the county. Had we tried to implement something similar, besides getting through the legal hurdles, would have cost north of $200,000. So this defers that and creates a free market mechanism for people to enjoy the service. Zero development and maintenance costs. We don't have a contract. The contract exists between the taxpayer and escrow taxes. Escrow taxes then just submits us the payments at the appropriate time. Customer service, escrow taxes has a phone bank and customer service that will facilitate questions and issues that they may have. And then there's minimal accounting overhead. We get payments twice a year as a mass payment, and then it is automatically populated in each person's account. So it's very easy peasy for our accounting staff. Escrow taxes as a third-party service provider called Auto Agent. Our county and 49 other of the 64 counties in Colorado have been using them for a number of years. They work with mortgage companies. If you have a mortgage, like 65% of citizens in El Paso County does, they collect that every month, and then they transmit that to us twice a year. So they've already got the software engine to do that. That service for mortgage companies. It's a highly intuitive interface. Property owners can select their account via parcel or schedule number. Escrow taxes will then access their billing file with our office, which all the information on taxes per property is in the public domain, and it automatically generates a payment schedule based on the prior year's tax amount. Property owners will begin prepaying their taxes into the escrow account when tax amounts become certified for the upcoming year. So in December of every year, the county assessor certifies to you, who then certify to us what the property taxes will be. If there's any adjustments in valuation of property, or if there's any changes in the legislature, that may change a little bit. But escrow taxes use your past property tax to determine what would be a monthly payment to get to you in the right place by tax payment time. And here is the website. Starting tomorrow, if you go to the Treasurer's website, you will see this. You'll be able to click on it, and it'll pull up that website. How do you pay a large property tax bill? It's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So it allows our citizens to then go down to the bottom of the page, select the state they live in, the county, El Paso County, and then you can search by your parcel, schedule, or account number, by your address, or by your name. You may say, well, I thought Chuck said that you were the first in the country. We are. Other counties in the state are going to be signing up. But the news about this program got out to now the states of Ohio, Texas, and California. And there are now several others that are looking to jump onto this. So an idea was created and others are jumping on. So to enroll for our citizens, property owners need to own their property free and clear. If you have a mortgage, we don't want to get 2 payments. So this is only for people who have a mortgage. Your account must be current, so you have to be current up to what you owe the county in order to enroll. And then you'll go to our website, select the escrow tax portal link. You'll create an account, and the application will walk you through step by step of how to set up reoccurring payments and the payment date. And then, as I said, when the tax roll is certified by the assessor's office, they'll look at what you paid last year, and if it's a little more, a little less, then they will adjust the amount of your monthly payments. As we get to the June 15th payment, if the taxpayer amount is a little over, a little under, it'll give them an opportunity to true up so that their balance for the final transmittal is correct. Or citizens can say, all right, I got $15 over. I can either get that back as a refund, or they can apply it to next year. If citizens have an issue, they can contact the treasurer's office, and we can help walk them through it. But like I said, escrow tax has a customer service feature to allow them to do this. Well, you ask, well, there's no such thing as free lunch, right, Chuck Brorman? There is a bit of a cost. If you pay by, you can pay by e-check. It's just $1 a month, so it would be $12. So you can come to our office and do the same thing for free, but you have to put gas in your gas tank, and your time and the like, cost you something to come down. So, or you can pay by credit card. I'm not encouraging anyone to do that, but there are some who do. We have about 12,000 people a year currently who pay their property taxes by credit card, and if you do pay by credit card, it is 2.5%. By each statutory due date, escrow tax will send a notice to the taxpayer that their payment has been made. We will also get notification that the property owner has paid their taxes. It'll all be seamless. But like I said, if property owner doesn't want to use escrow tax but wants to come into our office once a month, starting this month, and make a payment, they're free to do that too. What I'm asking today is for your help in getting the word out to the program about the program. Natalie Sosa and the County Communications Department has been working very hard on helping us to get the word out. We have a press release going out. There'll be banner ads on our county website. We'll be doing earned media and a little bit unearned. I'll be conducting media interviews, and then we'll have inserts in our mail that we send out periodically to citizens. I've also reached out to Department of Human Services. I'd like to thank Brett Waters for putting me in contact with Stacy. I'll be speaking to the Pikes Peak Council on Aging next month. We're talking to AARP next week, and then AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, also. But I ask for your assistance to help us get the word out about it. So with that, any questions?
Commissioner Wison.
Question, is this a technical treasurer term, easy peasy?
Say that again, speak up a little bit.
I said, is this a technical term for a treasurer, easy peasy?
Yes.
Okay.
It's we currently with Auto Agent, who does the mortgage payments, they get our file of all the citizens that have property in El Paso County. Then they match it up to mortgage companies from Wells Fargo, U.S. Bank, and they pull that all together, and then they match that up, and then they transmit that to us twice a year on February 28th and 15th. The same thing for this service. It will be all done by Auto Agent under their application of escrow tax, and then we'll see the payment twice a year. I imagine we'll get some phone calls about it, and we're happy to point people in the right direction, but I think it's about as easy peasy as one can get.
Great. And now, just a question on, they have to own their property free and clear.
Right.
What about those that opt not to have an escrow account? So they pay their taxes
Yep.
and insurance outside of escrow? So are they eligible for this program?
Yeah, and any
Okay.
citizen that doesn't have a
An escrow.
mortgage, we don't, we don't want people who sign up that have a mortgage and do this because then they'll have to issue a refund.
No, what I'm driving at is in some instances, you can opt not to set up an escrow account.
Correct, yes.
So you would just pay your mortgage payment to whomever, and then you're responsible for paying your taxes.
True. You're right. There are some who elect to do that, and this would be, yes.
This would be eligible then?
Clarification,
Okay.
yes. So if you, through your mortgage company, just make your payments to your lender, but you then pay your insurance and your property taxes outside of this, then yes, this would be an appropriate program for them also.
Okay, you may want to maybe make a note or not only free and clear, but no escrow.
Yeah, I'll correct that. I'll make that clarification. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Commissioner Applegate.
So perfect timing. My parents just paid off their mortgage the other
All
day,
right.
so they've got to go on the whole thing and figure out the property taxes now because they're not doing it through an escrow account. So impeccable timing. Love it. Now I get to give this to them so they can check out that new system. And
That'd
see
be
if they
awesome.
want to,
I'd
see
like
if they
to
want
see
to sign
them
up.
be the first one.
There you go.
There
They
you
might
go.
be the first one to sign up. Right on. Thank you for that. Appreciate
Yes.
it.
Commissioner Weissong.
Also, I just wanted to say, Chuck, thank you. This, from my perspective, I saw a Nextdoor comment, and this was back in January, before we were even sworn in. And I said, Chuck, is there something that can be done? And lo and behold, he calls me yesterday and said, it's all done.
Yeah.
So fabulous work, and thank you very much.
Yeah, the germination of the ideas was starting, with 1199. Is there's got to be a way that we can do this in a way that isn't a burden on counties to do this. The city and county Denver, their cost to have implemented 1199 would have been $1.2 million. Which budgets are tight, and you hear of other governmental entities having to, tighten their belt and make cuts. That's not the time to be adding additional things to the repertoire of county, the expense and burden of. So I think this is one of the noted times where government figures out a way to do something better. But usually, as this is a situation, it started here, but then there's a free market thing that's going to come up and solve the problem.
And that is just so true of for everyone in the auditorium here that we try to do is keep taxes low. And by finding an alternative solution and using that free market option, it's a great service to those that need it, and it doesn't cost the county any money. So great job.
I'm just going to echo those comments and just say I feel the exact same way. It's so encouraging to see a free market based solution that you were willing to go out and figure out how to make this work. It's so tempting for our lawmakers to think that everything needs a new law, and it's obviously not always very efficient and not very helpful. But I applaud you for the work that you've done to find a way to help our citizens and also keep costs low. And we don't need one more law on the books to get it done. We can just make it happen. So thank you so much.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, I want to get a hat tip to Auto Agent with this option because I presented them the idea. I said, hey, could you do this? You do something similar for mortgage companies. Can you do this for citizens? And they said, no. And then I kind of kept on pestering them. And they said, well, maybe. And then the more they thought about it, they said, yes, let's do it. But we can talk to Joe Palmer and the great work that our county IT does, but they, in 10 weeks, turn around an application from just a germ of an idea to a full-blown online portal system for our citizens. So hat tip to them about being able to do this, because I wanted to get it done in July, so right after taxes got paid last month, now people can have the full 12 months up until their next due date. So hat tips to Auto Agent in doing this so quickly.
Fantastic.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here and updating on that. Okay, if there are no other countywide elected officials in the audience, and I don't see anyone, and it doesn't look like we have anyone online, okay, then we will bring it up here, starting with Commissioner Wysong.
A couple of, we are on 8, right? No. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, never mind, 6. Got lost here. Wanted to start, and Commissioner Williams made reference to what happened in Texas. We do have peak alerts. And if you haven't signed up for peak alerts, it may or may not work where you're at if you don't have cell service, but I'd rather that you sign up and not be in a zone than to have not signed up and missed some kind of an alert. So I just want to strongly emphasize. And then also, this is on our financial section of the website, and it's a very good, I should say, it's a very great summary of the financials of El Paso County for last year. But there's some great information in there, and including on page 11, you know, Chuck and team collects all the property tax money, but if you turn to page 11, out of every dollar, and again, these are averages, El Paso County only gets to keep less than 10% of all that money that comes in. And so it's just one of those that Chair Geithner and others who have been here a lot longer than the 6 months that I've been here have done a fabulous job of keeping our taxes low and providing maximum amount of services. And I just think it's just really important to recognize what the county has done and what we're continuing to try to do. Today, you may or may not have heard that it's the start of Pikes Peak or Bust Rodeo. So there's some flyers that you may see floating around. It starts today and goes all the way through Saturday with matinee both on Friday and Saturday. And not to be outdone, starting on Saturday, County Fair out in Calhan. So there's going to be all kinds of great things, and want to make sure that people enjoy what we have in store for them. It's going to be a great program this year. That's all.
Commissioner Nelson. Good morning. Apologies for coming in late this morning. I want to just also say thank you to Mr. Borman for all the work that you did. I have been thinking about how we celebrated 4th of July last week and Independence Day, and I think this is a great example of where government is doing what it's supposed to, that we, the people, are elected or elect someone to represent their desires and their needs, and then you heard that request and that need and stepped up and was proactive in developing a solution. So thank you for modeling good government there. And it's really exciting that El Paso County is at the forefront of this work. So nice job. And I was going to also mention the rodeo and the fair. So go. Commissioner Applegate.
Thank you. So last Wednesday, June 25th, Fountain Valley Senior Center, they celebrated 50 years, and that was cool. They got to, hang out and jam and party. And so I was able to partake in that. Friday, me and Commissioner Wysong, we took a tour of the Southern Delivery System. We went all the way into Pueblo County, checked out one of the facilities, one of the pump houses, drove back up through and checked out a couple other facilities they had. The rise is approximately, did they say 1,000 feet in altitude? So they have to keep pumps every couple miles. So it was actually a rather interesting process in how they clean and filter the water. Saturday, I was over at the Senior Open, and man, those old guys put me to shame. I golf a little bit, but these guys were twice my age, and they were just making it look easy. So it was pretty awesome, and hats off to the winner, Patrick Harrington. Monday, there was a ribbon cutting from Southmore Drive over for the Fountain Creek Watershed. This was something that was rather near and dear to my heart because 4 years ago when I got elected to Fountain City Council, that was something I was fighting for tooth and nail, was for that Southmore neighborhood that I live in and my neighbors. Get that river fixed so we can eventually someday we can get that road reopened. So that was very awesome that we collaborated everybody. That includes the Fountain Creek Watershed, the county, Pueblo, the different contractors that we hired, and City of Fountain, and we all got together and said, let's fix the river. Let's reroute the river so we can fix the road eventually. So I was just ecstatic when I saw that day. And 4th of July, I was over at the pancake breakfast over in Whitefield Security area. So for the security fire station, they host their annual thing there. And then I caught the Ford Amphitheater, the fireworks later that night. So it was fun. J.W. Roth knows how to party. He brought the whole Philharmonic out for that one. So thank you.
Vice Chair Williams.
Yes, I just wanted to say we had a good 4th of July. We walked in the Monument Parade. It was very successful this year. And as always, lots and lots and lots of people attending. And this week, I just have on my calendar so far our Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments and our Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority. And those are the only activities I have. And I kind of took last week off. So other than the parade, I don't have very much to report on. Thank you.
Well, I have many of the things that have already been mentioned, PPRTA. I also have a Region 16 Opioid Council Subcommittee, where we'll be discussing the opportunity for bringing some messaging to our community, specifically around prevention for youth in particular, and the dangers that are associated and go hand in hand with early marijuana and THC use, and how that often leads to opioid addiction. So really looking forward to the work there that I think is incredibly important. As has been mentioned, I'm really looking forward to the kickoff of the county fair in Callahan, which is in my district. I look forward to that every year, enjoying all of the different acts. Absolutely encourage you to come on out to Callahan. If you have not been out to Callahan or experienced the county fair, it is really remarkable. Not only are there all kinds of shows and a carnival that I know my kids enjoy every year, they definitely always have to get a couple of funnel cakes, right? They got to do those things. But there's something really amazing about walking through those animal barns and seeing the future of agriculture in the eyes of those students who are doing that work now. It's such an incredible thing to shake their hands. They're very well spoken and just really impressive. So if you head on out to the fair, enjoy all those fun things, but stop by the animal barns and talk to the kids about their projects because it truly is phenomenal. And then I also will be attending the rodeo. Other than that, I'm glad everyone had a happy and safe 4th. I, unfortunately, as you may be able to tell, was a little under the weather and I'm just recovering. So I did not get to participate in that monument parade, which is also a favorite of mine. But I know that it was a fantastic time. So, okay, with that, we are on to item 7.
Item number 7 is community service organization reports, and there are none.
Item 8.
Item number 8 is public comment on items not scheduled on the agenda. And Madam Chair, I'm aware of several people signing in ahead of time to speak today.
Okay, now is your opportunity to speak on an item not scheduled on the agenda if you'd like. I just would ask you to come on down, especially if you have already signed in. You won't need to do that again, but you can kind of just queue up maybe in these front few seats and just come to the microphone, introduce yourself. You will have 3 minutes. And I do want to make one statement because I understand that there are a few people here who wish to speak on an item that was actually moved to another date. I want to make sure you are aware we are happy to hear your comments today. However, because the hearing in question is a quasi-judicial hearing, anything that you want to be considered for that hearing does have to be on the record for that hearing. So your comments today, we would not be able to consider. Sir? Sir, so I can't get your comments on the record, but what I will do is I'll have our attorney just clarify. There's a legal requirement that I cannot wait for you today. However, you also have the avenue to write in your comments and we can include those on the record. Unfortunately, that is the reality of what the legal requirements are, but I'm going to defer to our county attorney to just give a little more clarity, make sure that I've captured everything clearly for folks to understand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would agree with your assessment that the formally noticed public meeting is the only place that we can capture evidence for the record to support the board's decision. So any comments made today would not be part of that formal record. Sir, I believe that the chair brought up to you the potential of providing written comment if you can't make it on the 24th. But due to legal constraints of the open meetings law, I believe that comments for them to be considered as part of the record at the noticed quasi-judicial hearing would need to be made at that hearing.
Okay, so I would love to invite you forward. Again, just state your name for the record and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Good morning, commissioners, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Robert Stengel. I live in Cascade. I'm here to share concerns about the unchecked growth of short-term rentals, otherwise known as STRs. These are changing the character of my neighborhood. They are not local homeowners renting to share a room, but they are corporates, LLCs, and they are quietly buying homes and turning them into full-time STRs. Every home turned into an STR is one fewer for local families and replaces neighbors with rotating stream of transient vacationers. Cascade already sees the impact. An estimated 40% of the houses there are absentee investor entities. An absentee investor owns the STR next to me, lists that 22 can sleep there, has a swimming pool, and often exceeds 80 decibels, which is above the county's industrial noise limits. The Good Neighbor guidelines lack teeth with absentee or corporate owners. Unlike large developments, these STRs do not face county permits, public review, or inspections. Without proactive policy, Cascade risks quietly turning into a privatized hotel district. I asked the county to act now and consider requirements that STRs be owner occupied during rentals so neighbors have someone to contact. Adopt licenses so chronic violators lose their privilege to operate. Enforce the rules on noise, parking, and occupancy. Require safety measures for the fire, especially in wildfire-prone areas. Coordinate with the health department to protect the septic systems and Fountain Creek water quality. Teller County is already moving on this, and if we do nothing, STRs will overwhelm the unincorporated areas like Cascade. This is about protecting neighborhood character, safety, and the ability for local families to keep living here. Thank you very much for your time and for listening to my concerns.
My name is Jeremy Gardner. First, I want to say thank you for finally fixing Yoder Street out in Callahan in front of the fairgrounds. The second thing I want to do is apologize if I come across kind of strong, but I feel strongly, very strongly about what I'm going to speak about. And I would also ask that I get to finish what I'm saying, even if I go slightly over 3 minutes. So I'll start now. Again, my name is Jeremy Gardner. I'm a fourth generation native to far eastern El Paso County. In 1906, my great-grandmother was pregnant with my grandfather, and they traveled from St. Joe, Missouri by a covered wagon and decided to settle 9 miles north of Rush. They obtained land under the Homestead Act. They built a house on a sod foundation. Today, the fifth generation of our family is being raised in that same house, my daughter. The house my grandfather and 2 uncles were born in. For 119 years now, my family has lived on, cared for, farmed, raised cattle, and paid the taxes on the land we own. It is our land, not Excel's, not you as commissioners, not Denver's. It's ours. Where is our vote? For over 3 years now, we have had this storm brewing. You as our elected representatives have allowed again our property rights and our way of life to be violated. From the beginning of this Colorado Power Pathway project, you as our commissioners have allowed Excel to threaten us, intimidate us, and in some cases, take our land. You allowed Excel to threaten eminent domain even before the required permits were obtained, and you've hid behind the quasi-judicial excuse the entire time. Recently, I had heard Chairman Geithner speak for the State of the Region address. Ms. Geithner spent a significant amount of time and effort speaking about how you all, as commissioners, wanted to become more transparent. This Excel process has been anything but transparent. As I understood it, the Planning Commission should vote on these permits before it goes in front of the commissioners. I've yet to see Excel on an agenda for the Planning Commission. So what is the process? We were first sent a notice for today, but that was immediately followed by the same notice for the 24th. Why was it changed? Was it done on purpose to create confusions so you or Excel don't have to hear us? This whole Excel project is nothing but a land grab by the state to take our land in the name of green energy. And I believe to also take our water for the cities. Are you as commissioners part of that? Will you roll over for Polis? We get nothing for this project. The roads will remain in terrible shape, and there's nothing in the current plans that hold yourselves or Excel accountable for our roads as a result of this project. Commissioner Geithner, in your address, you spoke a lot about how you supported farmers and ranchers. Pretty soon you will vote on this project and prove your words. I urge you to vote no. Elbert County took the lead. Perhaps El Paso County will also tell Polis and Excel to take a hike, or will you roll over for him? Please clean up this process. Quit eroding our rights. I'm almost done. I compare this to the wolf issue on the Western Slope. But in some ways it's worse because we don't even get to vote on what we will be forced on our land. We have to depend on you to vote for us. Please use your votes to stand up against this land grab and stand up for our property rights. I realize none of you live out where we do, but ask yourself, would you want to be forced this on your yard? Would you want these huge lines over your house? Would you want to vote? Would you want and vote for turbines or solar farms forced in your yards? I bet you wouldn't. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to point out that we do have staff members here that can happily give you clarification on some of your questions, even though you are referring to a quasi-judicial issue, as you mentioned. If there are questions about the procedure, the process, and why it's coming here and why it's been moved, all of those things, we can have staff answer those questions. I'm looking... I see Megan up at the top. So Megan Harrington is our planning director, and we would certainly want to help you understand more of the process and get any questions that you have answered ahead of that. Mm-hmm. Do we have a next speaker?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Sue Ann Meals, born and raised in northeastern Colorado, and now I'm here. When I was raised, commissioners were supposed to represent the rural land primarily, and of course, it's unique here because it overlaps with the city. However, I approach this as the most powerful position I have in this state is a citizen. Colorado in particular forces primaries and so forth, grassroots level. My husband and I live in Chipeta Park. He passed away, pardon me, but we raised our family in Chipeta Park. Never heard of the place until I moved here. Had to memorize Chiquita Bananas to tell where we live, at the base of Pikes Peak. Eventually, we were raised with the idea of work hard, property rights, give back to your community. And over the years, we began realizing there was an issue of property rights, which we've worked with the county, not in an adversarial way, but the county was very much aware that things had been changing. I was coming here today to let you know that, okay, some things have changed and I want to bring it to your attention, and we can talk in more detail at some later point in time. But it used to be that the Sheriff's Department we had a lot of trespassers. We created the Field of Dreams, had to close it down because of some of these issues. We're kind of where county meets city, so we were coming up with some community things. We did an awful lot with community development. And I've come to the realization that people don't understand community anymore. I went to a meeting most recently, and those folks really made it much clearer, too, about some of the additional things that are going on. In our own particular case, the minute we moved in, we started getting complaints. And so one of the first things we did was say, oh, okay, show us the complaint. Where's it coming from? What's the evidence and so forth? The evidence was on a piece of notebook paper. I think we got him. And I was like, what? But that's the point. There's been that kind of thing. Eventually, the county recognized that that's what it was, and that we were compliant, we were legal, above board, and putting an awful lot out for developing our community. The complaints continued until they figured out horses and what would stick. Well, there again, we worked with the Sheriff's Department, and I found out recently that the rural part of the Sheriff's Department is no more. So there is no record of why we get no more anonymous calls on our place. There's just a whole difference. And so I'm seeing now, after my husband's gone, there's a lot of there's just complaints. They continue. And they're politically motivated, and the county had begun to realize that, but I think they're getting to a point where they can't address some of those issues. So I'd like to be part of the solution rather than the ending, and please pay particular attention to the three folks that are speaking here about
Thank you.
property rights. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Who is here to speak next for public comment? I'm not, you guys just go ahead and come on up. You don't have to wait to be acknowledged to come up. Just kind of queue yourselves up and come on up as soon as the next person's finished.
Before I start, may I say, I have such a terrible time hearing anyone. I just want y'all to know it's very difficult to hear. Does everybody feel that way? So, okay, now I'll begin. I'm speaking on behalf of the Excel issue, which I thought would be today or the 24th, not just the 24th. There was not a correction in the second thing. It just, it appeared that you could appear twice. So here we go. My name is Penny Book. I live at 38555 Book Road, which is in Rush, Colorado. One of Excel's original proposed routes went right through the middle of our land. Excel has since chosen another route, which is a few miles east of us, for which we are very grateful. But even though it's not going through our land, I will continue to stand up for my neighbors. Excel has proposed a 560-mile, 345-kilowatt transmission through property in eastern Colorado to help provide an, quote, ever cleaner power supply, unquote. We would like your support in trying to stop this proposal. People in the Front Range feel that the Eastern Plains are fair game for buying easements for putting in these mammoth poles with no consequences. Excel made a proposal to the PUC in March 2021. They described where I live on the Eastern Plains as a, quote, clean energy highway, unquote. They described my home and that of all my rural neighbors as the, quote, clean energy rich Eastern Plains of Colorado, unquote. We will not benefit from this mammoth transmission line. It will provide energy for Denver, for wind turbines and solar farms. These lines, turbines, and farms will destroy what we have lived to preserve on this land. It seems like the Eastern Plains are up for grabs, but this is our land. This is an unwanted invasion of our way of life. The state won't let the lines be placed on state-owned land, but it's okay to go through private land. Help me understand that logic. Nobody considered the impact on our lives because few people who live in cities understand our way of life. I come to the city to do business, but people in the cities don't come to the country to understand how we live. It's not their fault, they just don't understand it. In the name of progress, people have always taken without understanding the ramifications of those whose land was taken. Land grabs have happened all through history by those who are bigger, stronger, and with more money. Excel's transmission line is necessary to provide Denver power, but it's coming through our land. Our roads are badly in need of maintenance now. The resulting traffic of putting these huge lines through will cause much more damage. The line is necessary to provide power for wind and solar farms, which will cause even more negative environmental and community impact. The wind and solar farms are necessary because our governor wants Colorado to lead the way to renewable green energy by 2040. It's not green to produce these transmission lines or windmill or solar farms. Build a clean energy source, a nuclear power plant buyer in Denver. Please don't allow this project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, folks. How are you doing today? My name's Braden Watson. I am Jeremy's neighbor. They're not bringing it right through my property, but let's be honest, everybody here knows. Most of us that live out there, it's not like we're well-to-do. We're not living high on the hog. We're getting by with what we have, making, ends meet with kind of dead man land. And you guys know, just like everybody else here knows, if that line comes through, they're going to eminent domain our property. You know it, and everybody here knows it. I'm a disabled vet, and I fought 2 wars for this country. I finally saved up enough money to get back out into the country, out of the city, and now all of a sudden, they're going to bring a power line through that we all know will equal eminent domain. That's what it will entail for anybody that lives around that. They are going to come out there and they are going to steal our property at a defunded rate of what it's worth, so who can get their pocket fattened? Because it's not us. The people that live out there, we're not getting anything out of this. So whose pocket is getting fat? So what I'm here for is I'm here to ask you, as our commissioners, just like the commissioners in Elbert County did, to protect us. Because when it comes down to it, if you allow it to go through, We don't have the money for the lawyers to fight the eminent domain. You guys are our first line of defense. We're asking you to do the right thing and make it to where we don't lose in court our land that we fought for, that we earned, that we saved, that we purchased, that we pay our taxes on, so that we don't go to court and lose our property because we don't have a fat enough pocketbook to defend ourselves in court. Y'all are our first line of defense, and that's why I'm here. I'm not upset with anybody as far as here goes. It is frustrating. I took time off work to be here. And like I said, I work very hard for my money. And so I'm asking you all to do the right thing. Letting this power line go through does not benefit us in our county. It benefits everybody outside. It's a transmission line. It's not like it's dropping power here for us or anywhere else. It's taking it elsewhere. It's using our resources and once again sending it elsewhere. Come out and look at all our dry creek beds we have out there. What do you think happened there? No different. This is power instead of the water, but it's the same thing. It's getting sent elsewhere. So I'm asking you all once again, and this is my last comment, please defend us before it gets to a point where we can't defend ourselves.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on public comments on an item not on the agenda? Please come forward.
Good morning. My name is Janice Eder. I'm a 30-year resident of Cascade. You probably didn't think I was that old, right? I have an 8-year up close and personal history with the short-term rentals in Cascade. Mr. Stengel told a little bit about the one that's directly across the street from he and his wife and myself. The noise factor is unbelievable. They bring in buses, full-size buses, and unload their guests. In the summertime, I can't even have my windows open in my home. I can't go sit in my garden or on my deck to enjoy the beautiful mountain scenery, which is why I live up there. I just wanted to touch real quickly on the emotional and psychological ramifications and what it's done to our community. 35 to 40% of our homes are now short-term rentals, non-owner occupied. It has destroyed our community as far as cohesiveness and neighborliness. My immediate neighbors, they all feel powerless. A couple of them are here today, but they're frustrated, they're sad, and they feel helpless. As far as financial ramifications, I spoke with our fire chief about 30 days ago. And because the census in our town is down because people don't live there anymore, we've lost 40% of our folks that live there. They don't have as big a pool to call on volunteers for our fire department. The fire chief informed me that within the next year or so, there's going to be a ballot initiative for a rate increase in our taxes, our mill levy to pay for paid firemen. If our community doesn't vote that in, that fire department's gone. And we already have a problem with property insurance. People are losing their homes up there because they can't afford the rates and they're already being canceled. If that fire department goes away, those of us that live there are probably going away. So I'm here today to plead with all of you to help put some reasonable rules and regulations in place with these short-term rentals. They're businesses. The one next door to me advertises $1,700 a night. That's a business. That's not a mom and pop renting their house out. That's about all I have to say. And again, I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on an item not on the agenda today?
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for this chance to address you again. My name is Joe Pelka, and I'm speaking on behalf of the former Rock Rimmon Library. Listening to the comments previously, I see a common thread from the audience, and that's quality of life, or the lack of quality of life. And if you look at the role of government, it's usually to do things that the people can't do for themselves. That usually means public safety, infrastructure, and quality of life. Currently, you are still looking for another candidate for the Library Board of Trustees. I ask that you give all due consideration to someone with a strong financial background. Secondly, based on the last vote between this group and the City Council, it appears that you're at an impasse as to what you're looking for. May I give you a suggestion? Please appoint someone with strong community backing. Please take this monkey off your back and do yourself a service, as well as the community a service, by appointing someone that we can agree to and that we feel comfortable with, that represents the needs of the library district as a whole, but especially for the northwest part of the city, which lost a very important library. This has gone on too long. You have an opportunity to make things right. I ask you to give all due consideration in your further considerations. But again, we would suggest, for your own good and for our good, that someone that represents the community that we feel comfortable with is the best way to move on with this issue. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak during public comment on an item not scheduled on the agenda? Please come forward.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Mike Vidovich. I'm a resident of the UPass area, Cascade in particular, and necessarily a different short-term rental issue than the one that is referred to here. My wife and I have lived in Colorado for 35 years, and from Woodland Park, Manitou Springs, and currently in the last 5 years in Cascade, UPass area, as a retired primary residency. I'm here today to bring to your attention alarming negative change and impact to our residentially zoned UPass community and our daily lives that the STRs have had on it. Please note that many of our residents who could not be here today agree and share this common concern about the short-term rental growth and non-regulation. STRs versus LTRs, long-term rentals, have a very different type of activity, operation, and different long-term accountability capabilities by local law enforcement. As the STR hotel operations have created the following issues, concerns, and decreased quality of life and property ownership for the following experiences, violations have occurred inconsistently. Excessive noise at all day and night, as transient large party and renters violate noise ordinances, and in some cases, verging into industrial noise levels and decibels for concurrent periods of time. Excessive congestive street parking on our narrow mountain community roads, preventing and impeding response times for life-saving emergency services, for medical, fire, law enforcement, and snow removal for residents and the public. Lack of adherence to fire bans, dangerous due to lack of short-term rental communication, ignorance, or short-term rentals outright ignoring current mandatory local fire advisories, resulting in extreme fire concerns and within our mountain communities. Excessive neglected trash containment, cans kept on street side at short-term rentals for extended periods of times, attracting wildlife, endangering resident safety, our pets, and the wildlife themselves if having unnecessarily being dispatched. In cases of short-term rentals exceeding septic engineering capacities, which we've seen and experienced, design creating residents real concerns of hazardous sewage and overflow within our communities. We have tried to resolve this directly to the transient renters, the short-term renters, and owners, and we do pursue local law enforcement, which do the best they can, but they have been unable to impact this. We request the following for help in implementing to try and resolve this issue, as we need protection in this case and do not have it. Primary owner hosted only, residential, revocable licenses, maximum percentage, and minimum distances. Please note that all surrounding communities in our area, Woodland Park, Rosewood Hills, Manitou, Crystal Park, Green Mountain Falls, Colorado Springs OCC have implemented regulations already. We are left vulnerable to this without them, and will be focused on. We hope you take these comments and requests into consideration and start the discussion and process to protect our UPass residents before it is too late and the UPass residentially zoned communities simply become business tourist lodging, reducing residential housing opportunities for citizens. Thank you again for your time and the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here today who'd like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none in the audience, I'll check online. So we are on to item 9.
Item number 9 is the called up consent calendar, and there are no items called up today.
Item 10.
Item number 10 is the resolution to approve the 2025 annual action plan for the Community Development Block Grant Program. Crystal Latier, Executive Director, Economic Development Department.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Crystal Latier, Executive Director of Economic Development here at El Paso County. Thank you for your time this morning to discuss a matter related to the Community Development Block Grant Program, also known as the CDBG program. Today we'll be discussing elements of the annual action plan. All right, so a little background or overview about the program in and of itself. El Paso County became an entitlement community in 2009. So what does that mean? As of 2009, the population of El Paso County, but outside the city limits of Colorado Springs, reached a threshold of over 200,000. And a certain percentage of those residents were deemed to be of low to moderate income. This is a federal program, a fairly flexible federal program through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development that really focuses on providing grant resources for community projects for persons of low to moderate income. So as of 2009, El Paso County started to receive a direct entitlement grant from the federal government. This means every year about $1 million comes to El Paso County for purposes of local control to determine how those grant funds will be used. Prior to that, any nonprofit or municipality in our region would have had to apply at the state level. So the element of local control and administering it here at El Paso County provides great benefit for our region. It's also important to note that since this is a federal program, in addition to lots of paperwork, there are also some plans. And so two that I want to bring to your attention today are what we call a consolidated plan. It's essentially a 5-year strategic plan. That plan looks at community needs and also how those align with different eligible activities under this program's funding. And we set out 5-year goals on how we plan to use some of this funding in the next 5 years. It's also important to note that the funding we'll be talking about today and for the El Paso County program cannot be used inside the city limits of Colorado Springs. Why is that? Because the city of Colorado Springs receives their own federal allocation of CDBG and other HUD funds to use inside the city limits. Also important to note, you may see that there are some nonprofits that are being recommended for funding, and you'll think, well, their offices are inside the city limits of Colorado Springs. How does that work? If an entity has an intake process where they can show that the residents in which they are assisting actually live outside the city limits, then they can apply to our program for that pro rata share to serve those receiving services that actually live outside the city limits. As mentioned, we do have that 5-year strategic plan, also known as the consolidated plan. We're kind of in the middle of that right now. So on the screen in front of you, you will see from 2022 to 2026, HUD requires us to make goals in 3 areas. Those areas are housing, homelessness and special needs, and then community development. So any project being recommended for funding is aligned with one or more of these goals. So how does that process work as far as how the funding is recommended or dispersed? So each year, annually, we open up an application process. Folks that represent nonprofits, that there's no direct client assistance. So nonprofits, faith-based organizations, or those 7 outlying municipalities within our region may apply to the program. Those applications are just reviewed for completeness and eligibility by staff, and then it goes to your Community Development Advisory Board. This is a 12-member volunteer board. Those 12 members, how that's comprised is there's a representative from each of the 5 county commissioner districts, as well as a representative from the 7 outlying municipalities. So that makes your group of 12. And they review those and see how they're aligned with federal requirements, the consolidated plan, and overall priorities and values of the county. You'll see on the screen here your fantastic advisory board members listed. Very grateful for both the advisory board members as well as staff members who we have in the audience today who work very diligently to ensure that these federal funds are used in the most effective and efficient way possible. So after review of those applications, that advisory board comes up with a list of recommendations, how they would recommend the funding to be used. So I'm here today to present those recommendations. It is important to note that the Board of County Commissioners have final authority on which projects will move forward and be placed in our annual action plan. That annual action plan is what we send on to HUD for final approval that says this is how we will use this year's grant allocation. So we'll jump right into those funding recommendations. On the screen in front of you, you will denote some recommendations under our public service category. Our public service category is another term to really talk about the work that nonprofits do in our area. I'd also like to highlight, while it's not a federal requirement, this agency, the board, the staff, has adhered to a best practice in this category. And what that best practice does is say any nonprofit can receive this grant funding for up to 2 years, but then they must take a 1-year waiting time frame before reapplying. Why would we do that? We don't want nonprofits to become overly dependent upon federal funding that may or may not exist. We also want to help encourage capacity building and diversifying of their funding, which really helps them remain sustainable. So you'll denote the recommendations for your public service or your nonprofit category on the screen in front of you. You'll denote services everything from veterans, transportation for rural areas, companionship services for seniors, delivered meals, job training, disabled children services, as well as direct housing and utility assistance for folks living outside the city limits of Colorado Springs. Next, we'll highlight a few of the recommendations related to infrastructure, public facilities, and housing. So as I mentioned, our work has to happen outside the city limits. With nonprofits, it's probably a little bit easier to meet, right? That we are helping persons of low to moderate income because through an intake process, they can assure that those families are of a certain income limit. For work like this that looks at infrastructure or public facilities out in the community, what that looks like is the location of those projects must be in a qualifying low to moderate income census tract. So what that means is over 51% of the residents living in that census tract block group are at or below 80% of the area median income. So you'll see that each of these projects, in addition to providing a short description of what that improvement will look like, it also shows a proposed service area, for instance, the city of Fountain. But we all know there are more folks than 1,230 living in the city of Fountain. So that number truly denotes how many folks live in that census tract block group that we're saying will benefit from this type of infrastructure improvement. So on this list, you'll see infrastructure improvements for the city of Fountain, Manitou Springs, again, Fountain Valley Senior Center, rural Eastern El Paso County in the Hanover area, the Manitou Art Center, and then the town of Monument. Sometimes questions arise about low to moderate income populations in other areas, for instance, the town of Monument. It's important to note the caveat to that is that we can do ADA work in census tracts that maybe don't meet that income threshold because the ADA is a presumed benefit helping folks with a disability. And then lastly, just wanted to highlight Brothers Redevelopment, which is an agency that's been doing great work in our region for many years. The city of Colorado Springs now also has a partnership with Brothers Redevelopment. And why I think this is so important is because this provides grant-based assistance to homeowners of a certain income level to provide either emergency or ADA accessibility rehabilitation to their homes. This really allows folks to potentially age in place and stay in their home. So it's a great service to a region. Now that the City of Colorado Springs also partners with this company, then any resident who calls in, because sometimes you might have a Colorado Springs mailing address and not realize that you're actually in a small pocket of unincorporated El Paso County, there is the same trusted entity that can help with some of those homeowner improvements. So in summary, the Community Development Advisory Board is recommending a total of 16 projects, or what HUD calls activities, and you'll see each of the amount funded categories there, with the total amount being just shy of $1 million on projects. Some funding statistics to keep in mind. Overall, we did receive 22 applications. You'll see the entire application listing on the right-hand side. Again, that advisory board is recommending 16 projects for funding. The smallest grant amount being about $19,750, which we do think is a good minimum amount to have considering the administrative burden of federal funds. And then as well as your largest grant amount being about $175,000 with an average grant amount of $62,000. Happy to take any questions related to these recommendations.
Are there questions from commissioners? Commissioner Applegate.
Just a comment. Thanks, Crystal, for all your hard work. I appreciate being on that board, and I think that they did a lot of hard work. I think a lot of the individuals, the volunteers, and they got on there and they really looked at it and they broke down the numbers and they realized, hey, this is what we want to fund, this is what we want to help with. And I think for the most part, everybody's pretty much in agreement. So they saw what the needs were for the neighborhood and the community. So really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, well, I will just say thank you for all of your work on this, to the entire board and our liaison. And I really appreciate your thorough explanation. It's so good because this is one of those things that if you don't deal with it often, it really is not clear exactly what this funding is, where it comes from, what we're trying to do with it. So I really appreciate your thorough explanation. And as always, your thoughtfulness about the values of our community, specifically about making sure that we're not building up a nonprofit base that is becoming dependent on government, and just all of the work that you're doing and being thoughtful and making sure that this is used in the best way possible. So just thank you. Thank you to our liaison as well. And with that, I think we are ready for a motion.
You want to go ahead? Okay, I'll move on. Resolution to approve 2025 Annual Action Plan for Community Development Block Grant Program for El Paso County.
I will second that motion.
Okay, one last opportunity for comments or questions. All right, I will call the roll. Commissioner Wysong.
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson. Aye. Commissioner Applegate.
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. Thank you so much, Crystal.
Thank you for your support.
Okay, item 11.
Item number 11 is the application by MR Liquor LLC doing business as Meridian Ranch Liquor to renew the retail license located at 11890 Stapleton Drive, Commissioner District 2. Jackie Allred, clerk to the board manager. And Madam Chair, I can just provide a brief explanation. The applicant received a state violation of the liquor code on September 28th, 2024 for sale to a 17-year-old Liquor Enforcement Division underage operative, and they're not eligible for administrative approval. The stipulation agreement and order is attached in the board's backup packet, and the applicant has met all statutory and policy filing requirements, and no adverse comments have been received from the sheriff's investigator. And the applicant is here today to answer any questions the board might have.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jaspal Hunjan. Actually, my mom, Kuldeep Hunjan, she's the one who owned the liquor license because she don't speak English much. So that's why I came in on her behalf at the moment. And I'm the one who over there usually take care of the everyday business needs in the store. But she handles most of the management stuff over there, look over me. And actually on 28th of September, one of our employee named Prasanna, he sold it to the minor. And we've been in a business from 2015. It doesn't happen in the past ever. And he was, I think so, out of the rule book guy. He worked for us only for like a month, and he was not following. We tried to give him a chance is that how to do the work, how to follow the rule, but at the end it cost us a ticket, and we have to let him go. And for him, it was only like $100 fine and community service, but for us, it was $6,000 worth of the fines, plus all the headaches and all the trainings we have to give it to them, and we have to pay for the training from the liquor pros, like liquor license professional. I go every year to get the tips trainings and pass that on to all of our employees actually. And I just request, we are very sorry that it happened to our business, but it would not happen again. We have a very restrictive softwares on POS systems that it wouldn't allow. But sometimes what happens, like people comes in which is like a 80-year-old or 90-year-old, so we have to like sometimes like, okay, over 50. So he just skipped that. So it just happened once in the last 10 years, and we are very sorry for that. And we just request that please approve our liquor license renewal, so it will not happen again.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes, so after the violation, you said you retrained all of your employees on.
We do actually. Most of our employees, like at the moment, we train them, and you know how the things going at the moment, they quit every like 6 months and all that, and we are keep doing that. The same thing happened to the Prasanna. He worked for only 1 month, and we have to let him go, and he moved out of state, I think so, after that.
Okay.
Yeah, we do that, and every month, every employee comes in, we have to teach them. Every time I go to the store, I have to tell them, hey, do this, and we have all the papers, everything. Every transaction happens, there is a red alert come on our side that check the ID or scan the ID, and on a customer side it says please show the ID. So we used to scan the ID for the customers, but customers then start complaining, why you're collecting my data? So we have to visualize it and enter the date of birth in there. So we cannot scan anything, but people get mad all the time.
Yes. So, and that's the important thing, I think, in situations like this. We always look to see what you've done to correct the problem. So the employee was let go. So, you know, and you keep doing the training for the others. And so that's what I look for, is to see that it's not a continuing, ongoing violation. And it sounds like to me that this one would be okay to approve. Sorry.
I'm so sorry for that. Thank you for your patience, but I agree. I think Commissioner Williams' questions are the exact appropriate ones. We obviously take these seriously, and we're very concerned about it. Your store is located very close to where I live, and I have teenage sons, and so it is a big, concern for our community. So I thank you for taking that seriously, and making those corrective actions, and making sure that your employees understand the seriousness of that. So, was that a motion, Commissioner Williams?
Yes, I will go ahead and move approval of the application by Emerald Liquor LLC to renew their retail license.
Second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Are there any additional comments or questions? Okay, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Weissong.
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson. Aye. Commissioner Applegate.
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank
guys.
you.
Yeah, have a good day.
Item 12.
Item number 12 is department and committee reports, non-action items, and there are none.
Item 13.
Item 13 is the addendum, and there are no addendums today.
Item 14.
Item 14 is the executive session. 14A, executive session pursuant to CRS 246402 4B and E regarding a dispute over a conservation easement granted by MM Branch LLC on property located at 12285 Squirrel Creek Road for the purposes of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions and of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators. Lori Seago, Senior Assistant County Attorney.
I move we go into executive session for the purposes stated on the record.
Second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Weissong.
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson. Aye. Commissioner Applegate.
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. We are in executive session.